What's up, friends? Welcome to my first official TBR of the year. Somewhat official. Kind of official. Not really. This is mostly just to have some fun talking about the library holds that I have coming in and other books that I have on my radar at the moment. Normally, any other time of the year, I would say this isn't official at all. I'm a total mood reader. I can't guarantee I'll read any of the books that I talk about right now, and there's really no consequences if I don't. However, this first quarter of 2026 is maybe the only quarter in which there are actual tangible consequences if I don't somewhat follow this plan. I'm moving in May is the thing, and it's like a big move, the kind of move where you need to get rid of as many things as you can possibly get rid of because it just doesn't make financial sense to keep all of the things that you have. And unfortunately, one of the most space consuming heavy things that I own is my collection of books, which means I need to get rid of as many books as I possibly can. I have a bunch of books that I'm on the fence about, and the thought of unhauling books without giving them another shot makes me physically ill. So a lot of the books that I plan to read from March to May are going to be rereads or physical books that I haven't read yet. First, we're going to start with all of the library holds that I have coming in. The first library hold that actually just came off of hold for me, so I already have it on Libby, is Calabasas by R.F. Kuang. Now, this book and the next two books that I'm going to talk about are both in my top 26 priority books for 2026. I forget what the video is called, but I talked about them back in January, so I'm not going to say much about them here. I'm not even going to get into the synopsis. Personally, I am grateful for every R.F. Kuang book that I have read, and I'm sure that I will be grateful for this one too, although I'm a little worried that I'm not in the right mindset for it right now. 2026 has just been extremely busy at work for me, and it's just had me so exhausted, and I don't know if I'll have the brain cells to enjoy a book that I've just seen people criticize over and over again for being too academic. I'm hoping that my brain will rally though, because I've been waiting months for this hold to come in, and if I start this book and I decide that I'm not in the mood for it right now and I have to put it back on hold and wait another few months for it, well, I mean, I guess there are plenty of other holds that I'm waiting for, so I'll fill my time otherwise, but I would rather not have to do that. I also have another book that came off of hold at the same time as Calabasas, which is One Day Everyone Will Have Always Been Against This by Omar El Akkad. Not gonna lie, I think I should have put off this hold for a little while, but I panicked when I saw it and I accepted the hold, and now I have two top priority books waiting for me on Libby at the same time. I don't even know how much time I actually have to read books right now, but I have to. Deadlines are like the only consequence that strike fear into me, a result of going to school for journalism. If you know, you know. On the bright side, this book is a pretty short book. I think it's only like a little over 100 pages, somewhere between 100 and 200 pages, I think. So it won't be as much of an ask for my very tired brain, but it's also nonfiction, so maybe it will be. But my brain just has to get over it because reading more nonfiction is one of my goals for 2026, and I think it's just better for my deteriorating attention span. All right, and next on my list, we have The Buffalo Hunter x Hunter by Stephen Graham Jones, which I cannot believe also came off of hold at around the same time, but I didn't panic this time. I suspended the hold instead of accepting it, so it's just waiting for me whenever I finish with the first two books. None of these holds were supposed to come in at the same time, but I'm drowning in them right now. Like I said, this is one of the books that I talked about in my top 26 for 2026 video, so I'm not going to get into the synopsis here. What I will say is that I have much higher hopes about being in the right mood to read The Buffalo Hunter x Hunter. If nothing else, I love Stephen Graham Jones's concepts. Mongrels, I think, is my favorite book of his, and I loved what he did with werewolves and the lore in that book. I've mostly enjoyed the other books I've read by Stephen Graham Jones. I don't always love the writing style, but I do always appreciate the concepts that he comes up with. So maybe Buffalo Hunter x Hunter won't be my favorite experience in the world, but I do think it'll be an interesting experience. And based on the way people are describing this book, especially with it supposedly being mixed media, I think it has great potential for taking over Mongrel's spot as my favorite Stephen Graham Jones book. So I'm maybe more excited about this one than I am about the first two. And now we're going to do a sharp 180 with Heated Rivalry and The Long Game by Rachel Reed. Not to be super basic, but the Heated Rivalry craze got to me too. I 100% love drinking the Kool-Aid. I love being a part of the moment. My friends and I watched the show together over FaceTime. We did the classic thing of trying to start the show at the same exact time, which was made more complicated by the fact that the HBO subscription on my end of things has ads, and the HBO subscription friend on one of my other friends' sides did not have ads. So we had to get her to pause the show every single time the ads came up. It was a mess. It was a mess, but it was some of the most fun I've had in months. And we just finally finished watching the last episode in mid-February. I know we were very late, but I loved it. I want to rewatch the show actually so that I can binge it instead of only having watched an episode every like 1 or 2 weeks, depending on everyone's schedule lining up. Anyway, we're getting a little off topic, okay? We're supposed to be talking about the book, not the show. After watching the first episode, my friends and I also decided we wanted to buddy read the books. If you haven't heard of the books themselves, Heated Rivalry and The Long Game are a part of a larger gay hockey romance series written by Rachel Reed. They are actually the second and the sixth book in the series. But if you've read romance series before, you know it's usually one of those things where you can read them out of order because each book usually follows a different couple in the universe. Obviously, Heated Rivalry the show is based off of Heated Rivalry the book, which is why we have decided to skip over book 1 for right now. This is an enemies to lover romance between two rival hockey players. You've got Shane Hollander, captain of the Montreal Voyageurs, a Canadian golden boy, squeaky clean image in the press. And then you've got Ilya Rozanov, captain of the Boston Bears, and Shane's opposite in almost every way. He's cocky, he's a shit stirrer, he's probably a classic and toxic stereotype of Russian masculinity, etc., etc. What they have in common, though, is that both of them are extremely talented hockey players, the only real challenge for each other, and the media loves their rivalry. They make a whole show out of it. But little does the media or the fans or the teams know that behind closed doors, Shane and Ilya have been secretly hooking up. Now, this is a big secret, obviously, for many reasons, including the fact that if anyone finds out, their careers and maybe even their lives could be ruined. Now, that's Heated Rivalry. The Long Game, like I said, sixth book in the hockey romance universe, but it's the second book with Shane and Ilya as the main couple. My hold on The Long Game is actually already ready. I had to suspend that one too, because obviously I'm not going to read that one before I read Heated Rivalry. Heated Rivalry should be coming in about 2 weeks though. So it's going to be here any day now. My friends are just waiting for me to get the book because the rest of their holds have already arrived. So I'm the one holding things up at the moment. For those wondering, I do have a hold on the first book, Game Changer, but that's not supposed to come in for another, I don't know, like 20 weeks or something. It's got a long hold. All right, now on to my physical TBR, starting with the books that I'm planning to reread. This section of the TBR is super in the air because I've been very generous with DNFing books this year, which I just have to. You can't see it on camera at the moment, but these two shelves next to me are the ones that are full of the books that I'm still on the fence about, that I haven't decided one way or another if I'm going to unhaul them or if I'm going to keep them. So these are the ones that I have to get through. I'm only going to list a few in this video, but just know that there is a lot. There's at least 20, maybe more. I'm not entirely sure. I'm actually thinking of taking a day to kind of speed run through all of the books on these two shelves over here, just reading the first chapter or the first 15 pages and making a snap decision from there, whether or not I want to keep it, I want to unhaul it, or if I'm still on the fence after 15 pages, I want to keep reading them. So the next few books that I'm going to list are ones that I think might survive the first 15 pages. First, we've got Dragon Rider by Cornelia Funk. This is a middle grade book. With Ben and Sorrel on board, Firedrake sets out in search of the mythical place where dragons can live in peace forever. Along the way, the three friends encounter fantastic creatures, surprising courage, and one ruthless villain determined to end their quest. Only a secret destiny can save the dragons in this enchanting adventure about the true meaning of home. Nowadays, I'm not much of a middle grade reader, but I do remember being super enamored with this book when I was in elementary school. It's one of the middle grade books that I have the fondest memories of. Although, to be honest, now I can't remember if those fond memories are more so to do with the story or to do with how beautiful I thought the book itself was. But I don't read enough books about dragons. I think that's something I should fix. And with how chaotic and tiring my life is right now, I think a nice middle grade fantasy is exactly what I need. And the next couple of books that I'm going to mention, I think are also going to be good for escapism purposes. All right, this one's going to be a throwback for some people. We've got Clockwork Angel by Cassandra Clare. When Tessa Gray crosses the ocean to find her brother, her destination is England. The time is the reign of Queen Victoria, and something terrifying is waiting for her in London's downworld, where vampires, warlocks, and other supernatural folk stalk the gaslit streets. Only the Shadowhunters, warriors dedicated to ridding the world of demons, keep order amidst the chaos. Kidnapped by the mysterious Dark Sisters, who are members of a secret organization called the Pandemonium Club, Tessa soon learns that she herself is a downworlder with a rare ability, the power to transform at will into another person. What's more, the Magister, the shadowy figure who runs the club, will stop at nothing to claim Tessa's power for his own. Friendless and hunted, Tessa takes refuge with the Shadow Hunters of the London Institute, who swear to find her brother if she will use her power to help them. She soon finds herself fascinated by and torn between two best friends, James, whose fragile beauty hides a deadly secret, and Blue-Eyed Will, whose caustic wit and volatile moods keep everyone in his life at arm's length. Everyone, that is, but Tessa. As their search draws them deep into the heart of an arcane plot that threatens to destroy the Shadowhunters, Tessa realizes that she may need to choose between saving her brother and helping her new friends save the world, and that love may be the most dangerous magic of all. Okay, that was a longer synopsis than I thought it would be. For those of you who don't know, this is the first book in the Infernal Devices series, the Infernal Devices series being the prequel series to the Mortal Instruments series, which starts with City of Bones. I unhauled the Mortal Instruments series years ago, but I've been holding on to the Infernal Devices series because I remember loving it so much more than Mortal Instruments. I distinctly remember staying up late to finish reading Clockwork Princess, which is the last book in the trilogy, and feeling my heart race when we were at the climax of the story. And I also remember thinking that the love triangle that's in Infernal Devices is maybe one of the best love triangle setups that I remember reading it. My memories are vague, but it felt like a triangle that was actually a triangle with all 3 points meeting, if you know what I mean. I think I was still a teenager when I read the Infernal Devices, and so maybe that somewhat accounts for how sucked in I was to the series, but I'm really hoping that I'll still be sucked into it now. I desperately need that kind of locked in experience. I really need the devastation that I remember the romance being. I want it to live up to the memory in my head. All right, and next up we've got Heartless by Marissa Meyer. I remember thinking that the quality of this book was kind of just okay, like a good filler book, but nothing spectacular. But I also remember still being fond of Heartless for whatever reason. Her Lunar Chronicle series is maybe one of my favorite YA series ever. It's one of those series that reminded me of why I love reading so much. Heartless doesn't live up to that, but I remember being fond of it. Again, this might be a case where I'm conflating my feelings for how pretty this book is with how I actually felt about the story. It's a little unsure because I do love fairy tale retellings and villain origin stories, so maybe I really just did like it. And I just realized now that I forgot to read the synopsis for you. Catherine may be one of the most desired girls in Wonderland and a favorite of the unmarried king, but her interests lie elsewhere. A talented baker, she wants to open a shop and create delectable pastries, but for her mother, such a goal is unthinkable for a woman who could be a queen. At a royal ball where Kath is expected to receive the king's marriage proposal, she meets handsome and mysterious Jess. For the first time, she feels the pull of true attraction. At the risk of offending the king and infuriating her parents, she and Jess enter into a secret courtship. Kath is determined to choose her own destiny, but in a land thriving with magic, madness, and monsters, fate has other plans. This doesn't explicitly say it, so let me just let you know now that this is like a fairy tale retelling origin story of the Queen of Hearts from Alice in Wonderland. Alice in Wonderland being a universe that I do have a lot of fond feelings for and that I do really like, so I like things to do with the Queen of Hearts. I especially like things to do with the Mad Hatter, which I remember correctly does show up in this book at some point. I remember enjoying it. I don't know if I'll enjoy it enough that it deserves to stay with me though. All right, next up we have Molokai by Alan Brennert. I might be mispronouncing that. This richly imagined novel set in Hawaii more than a century ago is an extraordinary epic of a little-known time and place and a deeply moving testament to the resiliency of the human spirit. Rachel Kalama, a spirited 7-year-old Hawaiian girl, dreams of visiting far-off lands like her father, a merchant seaman. Then one day, a rose-colored mark appears on her skin, and those dreams are stolen from her. Taken from her home and family, Rachel is sent to... I'm so sorry, I should have looked up how to pronounce that beforehand. I am not going to do you guys the injustice of not even at least trying to pronounce that correctly. Kalaupapa. Okay, I looked at the pronunciation and I still don't think that really helped me. Rachel is sent to Kalaupapa, the quarantined leprosy settlement on the island of Molokai. Here her life is supposed to end, but instead she discovers it is only just beginning. With a vibrant cast of vividly realized characters, Molokai is the true-to-life chronicle of a people who embrace life in the face of death. Such is the warmth, humor, and compassion of this novel that few readers will remain unchanged by Rachel's story. To be honest, I don't remember any of my feelings regarding the writing style of this book itself, but I do remember being fascinated by the subject matter. I think it remains the only fiction book I've ever read that talks about leprosy in any kind of way, and by a strange coincidence, I had also come across a non-fiction book on the same subject called The Colony by John Tayman, which also talks about the same settlement that this fiction book is talking about. So the two books combined were a really interesting experience. I've never heard anyone else talk about this book, so I definitely don't want to unhaul it without giving it another chance because I think it adds a unique story and part of history to my shelves. All right, and the next one we have is A Madness of Angels by Kate Griffin, which does not have a synopsis on the back of it, which is so annoying. So we're just gonna have to deal with my memory on this one, okay? The main character of this book, his name is Matthew Swift. Matthew Swift wakes up one day with a very distinct memory of having been killed. He doesn't know who killed him, but he knows that he died. What he doesn't know is why he's been resurrected or how he's been resurrected. If I'm remembering correctly, Matthew Swift is a magician, however, a part of London's underbelly fantastical world. And now following his resurrection, he's woken up with these magical sparks, let's say. Again, I'm doing this off of my memory. He's woken up with some magical sparks inside of his body that I think is what we are calling the angels in this title, A Madness of Angels. And now, maybe what I should have done before, I am going to look up the synopsis, and I'm going to see how close I actually got to that. 2 years after his untimely death, Matthew Swift finds himself breathing once again, lying in bed in his London home, except that it's no longer his bed or his home, and the last time this sorcerer was seen alive, an unknown assailant had gouged holes so deep in his chest that his death was irrefutable. Da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. You know, it does not mention at all the little sparks angels things or whatever, but I feel like I distinctly remember that. Whatever. The thing I'm looking forward to the most in this book isn't even the plot, it's the world building, which I remember being quite unique. I think A Madness of Angels was the first time where I really felt what urban fantasy is. I remember being very amused by how magic manifested in this big city setting. It made every mundane little thing capable of being more, and I remember wishing that I was able to look at the world with as imaginative as an eye as this author clearly has looked at London. I hope the plot holds up to how good I remember the setting being. And now, again, we're going to do a little bit of a whiplash moment with another romance book, Like a Love Song by Gabriela Martins. Natalie is living her dream, topping the charts and setting records as a Brazilian pop star until she's dumped spectacularly on live television. Not only is it humiliating, it could end her career. Her PR team's desperate plan, a gorgeous yet oh-so-fake boyfriend. Nati reluctantly agrees to play along, but William is not what she expected. She was hoping for a fierce bad boy, not a soft-hearted British indie film star. While she fights her way back to the top with a sweet and surprisingly swoon-worthy boy on her arm, she starts to fall for William, and realizes that maybe she's the biggest fake of them all. Can she reclaim her voice and her heart? I really enjoyed this book when I read it. I would still absolutely recommend it if it sounds like your kind of thing. I thought the romance was sweet. I thought the premise made sense. Their relationship grew organically from friends first. There was a good cast of side characters. I genuinely don't remember having any complaints about this story. What I don't know is if this book would be good on a reread. You know, there are just certain books that are like good and fun when you read them the first time, but they don't necessarily need to be read a second time. I suspect this might be one of them, so while I enjoyed reading it the first go around, depending on how this goes, I suspect that I'll want to unhaul it so that somebody else can enjoy it too. I just want my shelves to be completely rereadable for me. And now this next book I actually don't even think is on my shelves right now. I think I put it on my nightstand, so I'm gonna be right back. I found it. A Carnivore's Inquiry by Sabina Murray. 23-year-old Catherine Shea is a restless and voracious spirit, hungry for knowledge, experience, and the occasional affair with an older man. But her travels, from the monuments of Italy, through literary New York and rural Maine, to the dusty Southwest, are shadowed by a string of unexplained murders. As the victims pile up in a frighteningly close proximity to Catherine, she finds comfort and inspiration in the manifestations of cannibalism in literature, art, and history. Slowly she senses that at the center of the mysterious deaths lies a bloody and unpalatable truth, and with mounting dread she closes in on the real reason for her own obsession with aberrant savage behavior. A Carnivore's Inquiry is a sly, addictive exploration of humanity's disturbing appetites and its ruthless capacity for survival. I'm gonna be real with you, I'm like 99% sure that I'm gonna unhaul this book, because I don't remember liking it the first go around. I'm actually pretty certain that it wouldn't survive the first 15 pages, except it might in this case, because I can't quite remember if it was just bad or bad in a let's talk about it kind of way. And if it's the latter, I might just finish it all the way through so I could talk about it in a different video. All right, and then to wrap up the video, I have another 3 books to add to this TBR. These are also physical books, but they're books that I haven't read yet, but would like to read before I move because I suspect that I will end up choosing to unhaul them. Sadly, one of the books is by the author of one of my favorite books. We've got Rouge by Mona Awad. I loved Bunny. Of course I did. I know that's a very basic choice, but I loved Bunny. I really did. I thought Bunny was a really tightly crafted book. It's one of the few books I've read where I've really felt like the author was intentional with every word they were choosing, down to the adverbs used and what would otherwise be throwaway sentences. It was just very impressively written to me, and I've been chasing that feeling ever since. I enjoyed All's Well, but it didn't hit the same way. I had high hopes for Rouge over here because I thought the beauty industry aspect of it would be really interesting to explore in a horror book, but I actually soft DNF'd this book. You can maybe see my bookmark here. I got what looks like somewhere between 20 and 30% of the way through the book. I ended up putting it down because it felt like it was taking too long to get to the beauty related horror. It just felt too slow paced, almost boring. I want to give it another shot with my eyes fully open on what the tone is going to be like, because I do want to know where it goes. I just realized I didn't give the synopsis to Rouge, so if you see me sitting a little differently, it's because I'm interjecting at a later point. Belle is obsessed with beauty, just like her estranged mother, Noelle. When Noelle mysteriously dies, Belle returns to Southern California, grappling with the lingering questions surrounding her mother's death. Soon after the funeral, a cryptic video about a transformative spa experience lures Belle to La Maison de Méduse, the same lavish, culty spa to which her mother was devoted. There, Belle discovers the frightening secret behind her obsession with her reflection and what lurks beyond the glass. With black humor and seductive horror, Rouge holds up a warped mirror to our relationship with mortality, the cult-like nature of the beauty industry, and the danger of internalizing its pitiless gaze. Next, we have another book by an author who has written a book that genuinely blew me away. That would be Tiffany D. Jackson, whose book Grown made me viscerally react. I remember genuinely feeling my body tense up and feeling kind of sick to my stomach while reading Grown. I didn't love the ending of that book, but my overall experience of reading it was unforgettable. And I've also been chasing that engrossed feeling ever since, and it just hasn't happened. Allegedly, it was kind of just fine in my opinion. I enjoyed Mondays Not Coming more than I did Allegedly, but I also don't think it compares to Grown. So I'm giving Let Me Hear a Rhyme a shot, and maybe this will be the one. Brooklyn, 1998. Biggie Smalls was right. Things done changed, but that doesn't mean Quadir and Jarrell are cool letting their best friend Steph's music lie forgotten under his bed after he is murdered. With the help of Steph's younger sister Jasmine, who is eager to seek justice for her brother, Quadir and Jarrell come up with a plan to promote Steph's music under a new rap name, The Architect. Soon, everyone wants a piece of him, but when his demo catches the attention of a hot-headed music label rep, the trio must race to prove Steph's talent from beyond the grave. As the pressure and danger of keeping their secret grows, Quadir, Jarrell, and Jasmine are forced to confront the truth about what happened to Steph. Only each has something to hide, and with everything riding on Steph's fame, they must decide what they stand for or lose all that they've worked so hard to hold on to, including each other. Tiffany D. Jackson's third novel is a stunning ode to hip-hop, friendship, and Brooklyn, remixed in a page-turning mystery that cements her place as one of the most outstanding voices in young adult fiction. I honestly don't have super high hopes for this. I mostly picked it up because I came across it in my used bookstore and I couldn't pass up the opportunity, but of all of Tiffany D. Jackson's premises, this isn't the one that intrigues me the most. I have some hopes because it is also in the music industry the way Grown is, but I don't know if I'll love it enough that I'll want to keep it through this major move that's coming. I'm hoping that I'll enjoy it at least the first go around, but I think ultimately I'm probably going to decide to unhaul it so that someone else can pick it up. And lastly, we have a book that I didn't even pick out for myself, and that is a collection of short stories by Isaac Asimov. From one of history's most influential writers of science fiction comes this collection of 20 short works, arranged in order of publication from 1941 to 1967. Compiled by Asimov himself, with prefaces by the author for each story, this volume begins with Nightfall, the tale of a world with eternal sun that is suddenly plunged into total darkness and utter madness. Published when the author was only 21, Nightfall was arguably Asimov's breakout work, making such an impression that almost 30 years later, the Science Fiction Writers of America voted it the best science fiction short story ever written. The other stories in the collection span far and wide: machines that learn to think for themselves and direct their thoughts to overturning the establishment, the discovery that Earthlings are being destroyed by a mysterious kind of psychological virus, a day when walking outdoors becomes a sign of psychosis, and many more. 20 stories, each riveting, each a classic. Listen, my husband enjoys sci-fi stories, but he's not usually a big reader, and when he does read, he prefers ebooks. So why did he pick up this physical book? I don't know, but he picked it up like a year ago and he still hasn't read it. And I feel like someone needs to read it before it gets unhauled, because this isn't even from a used bookstore. Okay, we paid full price for this book, but it's almost certainly getting unhauled because sci-fi isn't really one of my go-to genres, and on top of that, I'm not generally a short story kind of person anyway. Anyway, those are my reading plans for the next 3 months. This is less so a spring TBR and more so a pre-move TBR, and it's also a little bit ambitious. But a ton of these books are books that I really, really want to read for various reasons prior to the move happening. So I think there's going to be a fire lit under my ass and it's going to happen one way or another. I'm just going to be so happy once the move actually happens and I can settle into some real seasonal mood reading the way it's meant to be. Again, I'm moving at the end of spring, so with that in mind, if you have any suggestions for summer reads, please let me know in the comments. And also let me know if there are any books that you are excited to read soon. I will see you in the next one.